I haven't done one of my monologues for a while now, but I guess I've been saving it up. I'm mostly on Twitter these days. It's a different environment. You get more educated people there. But as to whether the message gets heard, who knows? What have I to say? Um, I can tell you about the latest developments in my ideas, and the best way for you to catch up with the latest thing, to be aware of the latest thing, is to listen to my time-stamped spaces that you will be able to view from my blogs, Voice of Reason and The Radicalized Rabbi, and you will be able to see them on Telegram if you're already on Telegram. And I guess because I haven't been here for so long, I am looking at 0 viewers. But I have shared the link, and I guess it doesn't really matter if there's no one here at the moment, as I get into the swing of my monologue. So new ideas would be to post an alternative narrative that Jews are the pawns of Uncle Sam. I think it would be quite an effective one because it's not falsifiable, really. KL pops up to ask me why I don't invite Sam Samuels. I can't find him these days. Not okay. You know, he's not really interested in a conversation. Mostly, he just wants to speak for an hour using the platform, and not really be interested in arguing with anybody. He just kind of needs to let it out. So I'm sure you can still find him on with John Gisheler, because John Gisheler is really the streamer who keeps things together. Sam is basically a monomaniacal in that he wants a world to end and believes his rabbi is the Messiah. So you can only go so far with that. He does try to keep it entertaining with the latest disaster story, predicting ruin and destruction for everybody, and it gets a little predictable after a while. Dubid has gone quiet because he has got a job or something. I think he's teaching chess, and he feels he should be careful not to be saying anything too transgressive or be associating with people who aren't considered mainstream. But I really haven't heard from Dubed. The last time we appeared together was on the channel of what's her name? It's called the Rashma Show, and she's Muslim, but I've been banned from her channel because I dared to say that most Muslims are hypocrites, and the reason why the Gazans suffer is either because they're hypocrites or too stupid to understand what I'm saying to them. I do have this problem with lots of people, not just Muslims, who seem to have great difficulty understanding my ideas. And I can never really tell if the they're not really getting it or just pretending not to get it. But I suppose some of them do have some kind of mental block. Relations have deteriorated between me and Khalid because he just doesn't get it about having a conversation with anyone. I have complained that he regards all his guests as basically fungible, if you know that expression. To be fungible means to be, well, the same. You talk about fungibility in terms of, commodities such as, grams of gold or sheaves of wheat and beef and, fungible commodities. So what Khalid does is treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter if it's me or E. Michael Jones or anybody. He's just going to pump the same old crap. And I got sick of it. So, particularly when he had this conversation, I think it's quite funny. You should go and look at it. I don't wish him ill. I just wish him to understand what I'm trying to tell him, and he doesn't get it. Recently, he did a stream with somebody called Godless Granny, which is, and she is wholly antithetical to Islam. But anyway, she appeared. She's got a bigger channel than his, and is clearly legally educated, legally trained. And she only put up with him for half an hour before she let rip at him. Not about his political views, but just his dismissive attitude towards her views. And it's like, I don't care if you don't agree with me, but you have to engage at some level and say, well, Claire, you're wrong because A, B, and C. And there has to be some kind of dialogue to it. But Khalid, it's so obvious that it's like, yeah, I'll pretend to discuss this subject with you, and then what will happen is he'll let you say something and then just ignore it or say yeah or no and then move on to the next subject, which is what he wants to talk about. So this woman, Godless Granny, spotted it half an hour later and gave it to him good and hard right between the eyes. So that was quite entertaining. I was laughing away, but Khalid still doesn't get it. And now he is talking to ChatGPT. And they're basically unwatchable. I mean, okay, why? You may well be asking, why do I care? Why do I care to troll him? Because of his pathetic streams. And the reason is, what is the reason? It's almost inchoate. It is his channel. If he wants to do crap streams, what's it to do with me? But I think I have a problem with people not making the most of their opportunities. I mean, okay, I'll admit, do I make the most of my opportunities? I don't know. Maybe, I'm not doing things as well as I could be doing, but, I'm trying, right? I'm trying to get my message heard. Maybe I'm not online often enough. Maybe but the point is, I like to think I am sufficiently engaged to consider new ideas. And new and better ways of spreading the message by talking to different people or saying things in a different way. Um, and there are people who just say the same thing over and over and over again with the same people who are apparently happy to have the same old shit served before them. And that, I think, is a waste of time. And I suppose my frustration is that he doesn't seem to understand what I'm saying. He genuinely doesn't know what's wrong. But anyway, he's reduced to talking to ChatGPT because I just refuse to talk to him anymore. Because after every conversation, I feel just sort of frustrated, angry, dissatisfied, cheated. Um, and I was thinking, oh, obviously I can't expect him to agree with me or, I mean, he just has his sort of own agenda, and it's like, yeah, you can come on my channel, and I'll let you speak, but I'll just have to dominate by talking the whole time and not really listening to anything except, his shitty Google Docs that he always, puts on, and, his stupid, clips of videos that he doesn't even play properly. There's always some, tech issue. And, technically, professionally, it was terrible. And, again, why do I hate it so much? I mean, because he's allowed to be a bad streamer, why do I care? And I think the answer must be that I am focusing on this thing called opportunity cost, which is something I've been trying to explain to people. And I've noticed somebody else who doesn't like Muslims, in fact, not being able to discuss this idea, opportunity cost. So, in a long conversation, in a chat, you think, have I tried to discuss this subject with so and so? And you look it up and you think, and I noticed I did raise the issue 3 times, in fact, and he's not going to bite. He's just going to forget, pretend he hasn't heard. I don't know. It's very strange. I think that's strange because, I wouldn't respond if somebody's, says, have you heard, or, whatever it is. I would say yes or no, or, you've told me this 1,000 times before, I'm not interested, something like that. But actually, just not to respond is curious. Okay, I'm getting it that most people aren't interested in ideas, or they're just not capable of discussing them. It's all about whom they hate, whom they blame, and that's it. So that's probably not a good way to go. But where can I find people who are capable of discussing ideas? Oh, I don't know. I'm just hoping that in the global empire, that is the Anglo-Saxon empire, there exists someone adult and capable of discussing these things. But sadly, it doesn't look like it. Okay, back to the subject of Dubit. KL says Duvit has been streaming from the fairs in Detroit. He's done that before. He goes to these trade fairs and he talks to people, and nobody's interested. KL says Duvit is a paradox with paradoxical views. I think he's just found himself a niche in the streamosphere, I suppose. So he's a Jew who's prepared to engage with anti-Semites and be insulted by them. And then he realized that a lot of these anti-Semites focus on Duvit as as evidence for the accuracy of their views of Jews, because Duvit is rabbinically trained. His mother's Jewish, his father isn't, and therefore he's a mixed up kid. I was going to say if he's that young, but obviously it has turned his mind. He's really a liberal. He pretends to be a Hasidic Jew. Nobody believes it, and his views are paradoxical because they contradict each other, right? And he's also a Hindu, so he wants to be all these contradictory things. I mean, basically, he's a heretic, and therefore, if Gentiles were sensible, they would ignore everything he says on Judaism. But because he looks Jewish and everybody thinks of David as the Jew they love to hate, they can't let go of him, and that is his niche in the streamosphere. I am asked, do you think the Bilderberg Group are pro-Islam? They are the Illuminati and the WEF. I don't really know much about the Bilderberg Group, but I suppose they would be rich and powerful people who have meetings and are believed to decide the fate of the West. I imagine they would be trying to control the interpretation of Islam, of the Quran. I think that would be their next step. That would be my opportunity. Because, as Nietzsche says, interpretation is not a function of truth, but that of power. You interpret the law in the way you want. Teo says, neither you nor Khalid are really interested in discussions. You both want to preach your message. I don't think that's quite fair. I mean, I like to think I will engage with, whatever's on the mind of the person I'm talking to. I won't just not engage with whatever's on their minds, because you have to give something to people in order to get them to listen to you. So obviously, you have to show you care, or are in some way useful to the person you're talking to by at least being prepared to entertain and discuss their ideas. Oh, thank you, Teo. You've met Khalid, and you understand his point. You're at least interested in conversations. Khalid wants to read his PowerPoint, and that is what I can't stand. His props, oh my God, when I see this Google Docs crap. And it's not like he reads it in a way that you think, oh yes, it makes sense. It's like he reads it quickly, and then he just jumps onto the next thing. It's like being, okay, I haven't been to a crammer, and a crammer is, well, somewhere you go to. Actually, okay, a crammer is a place where you are being crammed to pass an exam, and there is no, joy in the learning of the subject. It's like, here are the notes, understand it, learn them, and answer questions correctly in order to pass your exam. All the pleasure of learning is just sucked out of it because there's no time. It's like you had to cram. And of course, what happens is that, okay, this is what was said about law exam. So the proper way to do law is actually to get a degree in it, and then do your professional exams. But there are some people, I mean, okay, the option of doing it in just 1 year, as opposed to the usual 3, is open to graduates who already have a degree in something else. So they have their degree in Spanish or whatever it is, and they go to this crammer where they study law in 1 year. And obviously it's possible to do that because a lot of people do that. And And what judges say is that you can tell somebody who actually learned law the proper way in a 3-year degree, and the person who did it in 1 year, because that person remembers hardly anything at all of the exam that they passed. So talking to Khalid makes me feel that you're in this grammar. And okay, this is this thing. I mean, a good analogy would be, okay, you want to fill up a bottle, right? You want to fill it up, but you have to kind of make, you have to look at the bottle and think, what would be the quickest way to fill it up? Has it got, what do you call it, the thing? Is it, what am I trying to say? The mouth of the bottle can be wide or narrow. And if it's a very small and narrow, small bottle and a narrow mouth, you have to be very patient, because you basically have to drip the water into it, or find some funnel to get it in. But if you just sort of pour water over it, well, hardly any of it is going to get in, right? So, okay, imagine a Lee and Perrins bottle of sauce, of Worcester sauce. So it's not just they make the mouth of the bottle even narrower, because you don't want a whole, you don't want a big splash of Worcester sauce every time you use a bottle. You kind of want to drizzle your cheese on toast or whatever it is you're putting it on, so don't because you don't want too much sauce. So anyway, if you can imagine yourself wanting to fill up a bottle of Worcester sauce, sorry, an empty bottle of Worcester sauce, you would have to be very careful. You have to make sure you put the water right into the place where it would go down, and not just pour a bucket of water over it, because none of it would go in. And because then you would have just wasted your time, right? And it isn't much fun to waste your time. Well, you're wasting your own time by performing a futile act. And while you're being boring. So this is, the problem. So it doesn't matter, you can put, oh, okay, he actually had Michael Jones on his channel, and he just did the same thing to Michael Jones. He did the same thing to this godless granny person, who at least wasn't standing for it. And of course he's done it to me countless times. And then I decided, well, it ain't going to happen anymore until he gets what the problem is. And every time he says something, it's so clear he doesn't know what the hell I'm on about. He has no idea. And give me some credit. I try to be clear. I don't mince my words. I say, but he still doesn't get it. So please, actually go to his latest channel, his latest stream. He's been talking to ChatGPT. He's been talking to ChatGPT this Sunday and the previous Sunday. And okay, I think it's terrible. And I'm sure nobody will even get to the end of it, because it's just full of words, just full of words that are stupid and pointless and boring and platitudinous. But what about it makes me so angry? And it's like these Muslims, they just have no fucking idea how to engage with people. No fucking idea. They just turn their religion into complete utter shit. And they still don't get it. So I mentioned the Rashma show. You should watch the one with me and David. But anyway, I was saying the reason why the Gazans suffer is because Muslims are fucking hypocrites who won't obey chapter 18, verse 4 of the Koran because they're cowards and hypocrites. And because I said that very clearly, I'm banned from a channel. But that's fine. I don't mind being banned because, sometimes getting banned or blocked means that the person who blocked you has received and understood your message. So that's a good thing, it's something that you can sort of tick off your list or something, to show, you've done your job, you got your reaction. What should I call this? Do I have anything more to say apart from complain about Khalid? I should divide them into different streams, I suppose. I'll just do this one. I'll call this complaining about Khalid, maybe, or leave it as it is. And thank you, Teo, for seeing my point of view.